What's going on, everyone? It's Wednesday, March 16th, and you're listening to the Hustle Daily Show. I'm Zachary Crockett, and I'm here with Rob Litterst.
What's up, Zach?
And our Director of Trends, Steph Smith, is back in the house today.
Yay! Great to be here.
Today on the show, we're going to be talking gas stations of the future. So some unexpected companies are making a push into EV charging units. Can traditional gas stations compete? We've got some thoughts on that. And we're also going to get into Facebook's decision to stop doing its employees' laundry and a truly bizarre purchase by AMC. Before we get into all that, let's do the news.
Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about HubSpot. If you're hustling in the trenches to build a business or bootstrapping one of your own, let's talk about an AI-powered tool that can lighten up your workload a bit. HubSpot's Campaign Assistant is a game changer for creating marketing campaigns at scale. It quickly turns your key selling points into a cohesive pitch, which helps you deliver knockout emails, ads, and landing pages in minutes. So let Campaign Assistant take care of the campaigns so you can get back to growing your business. Work smarter, not harder at HubSpot.com/campaign-assistant.
China is battling its worst COVID outbreak since 2020, and it's imposing lockdowns and restrictions across the country. Of course, China is home to 1/3 of all global manufacturing, so this doesn't bode well for supply chains and international trade. Many factory closures are poised to affect the supply of everything from iPhones to car parts. We're going to keep an eye on all that as things develop, but the timing here is less than ideal. Uber and Lyft are adding temporary fuel surcharges to rides. So if you take a ride in an Uber or order food, expect to see an extra 35 to 55 cents tacked onto your bill. The fees are going to go straight to the drivers to help offset the rising cost of gas. The good news here is, of course, oil prices are sliding back down a bit. Crude oil is now back down to below $100 a barrel, but gasoline is still retailing for around $4.33 a gallon nationwide. Lastly, Tesla has announced that it's hiking the price of its entire electric car lineup. It's the second price hike in 1 month for the company, and Elon Musk is attributing it to inflationary pressures and the rising costs of key raw materials like aluminum and nickel. Price hikes are going to be around 5 to 10%. That's going to do it for the news, and it also moves us right into our big story for today. Rob, Starbucks has plans to do something kind of weird, at least in the sense that it has nothing to do with coffee. You want to fill us in on this?
Yeah, so Starbucks is making a pretty cool pivot and essentially moving into EV chargers and trying to build the gas station of the future. Specifically, Starbucks is working on a pilot with Volvo and ChargePoint to install EV chargers in its parking lots along a 1,350-mile route from Denver to Seattle, which has essentially been described as a charging desert. They're basically going to drop chargers in every 100 miles. This is a huge opportunity for Starbucks. By 2030, it's been estimated that there will be about 26 million EVs in the US, which means we'll need about 10x the EV chargers that we have right now. And Starbucks has 15,000 locations across the country, so they're a natural fit to kind of help with this whole charging problem. The other interesting thing is with current charging tech, the process to fully charge an EV takes way longer than traditional fueling. In some cases, it can take up to 2 hours. I think Volvo said that their cars can go from 20% to 90% in 40 minutes, which is still a lot of time. And I think Starbucks is probably looking at this and gets pretty excited about that much time sitting in Starbucks and just smelling all the baked goods and coffee.
Yeah, perfect amount of time to just chill in Starbucks and do a little work for while your car's charging.
Exactly.
Up. So I think to most people who see this headline, it might not be that interesting. It's an easy thing to gloss over. Like, so what? Starbucks is opening some EV stations. But there's a lot of bigger implications here. Obviously, gas stations have been on the decline for several decades, and they're also struggling to adapt to the future of EVs. Steph, what are we looking at here with bigger picture of this move?
Yeah, so I'm fascinated by this because, as Rob said, we need 10 times the number of EV chargers, and there's this gap that needs to be filled. The question becomes, who is going to fill this gap, right? Is it going to be the government subsidizing these chargers? Is it going to be the individuals? Is it going to be residential complexes? Or in this case, it seems like businesses are stepping in who don't necessarily have a direct tie to electric vehicles or charging stations, but they see an opportunity. And what it seems like Starbucks is doing here is they're almost treating this as a lost loss leader, right? These electric charging stations are really expensive. I think, Zach, you looked it up. It's like $100,000 or something to set up the charging stations. And what Starbucks is doing here is they're looking at this and they're saying, we're going to treat this as a loss leader, and we're going to drive people to join us at Starbucks during this 30 to 40 minute period. In some cases, it takes hours to charge a car. So that habit is being completely reformed, and companies like Starbucks are jumping in to fill the void.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. If you think about this as a parallel to gas stations, gas stations don't make much money on their fuel. They only make maybe a few cents margin, if they're lucky, on the gas itself. And the gas is meant as not really a real loss leader, but a way to get people into the convenience stores and buy food and lottery tickets where they make the real money. So Starbucks seems to kind of be following a similar model with EV charging stations.
What's also worth considering is all of the gas stations today, they expect, as you guys mentioned, people to spend a couple minutes, right? Because that's all it takes to fill your gas. But now that we have these longer time horizons, you have to consider, what are the places that people would be willing to spend 30 to 40 minutes? I think I read somewhere that 7-Eleven bought hundreds of chargers recently. And I was like, do I want to spend an hour in 7-Eleven? Probably not.
So many Slurpees.
Watch those rotating hot dogs for hours.
Yes.
I think the Slurpee machine can only captivate me for a couple minutes. So you got to consider, where are the places that, one, have the capital to invest in these very expensive charging stations, but also have the staying power for people to want to hang out there. So I might be completely off base, but I was like, maybe movie theaters, maybe theme parks. Costco is a place that already does the loss leading-esque approach for gas stations. And I was like, I wonder what companies are going to follow, because I can't imagine that Starbucks is going to be the only one.
A lot of gas stations just aren't currently equipped to easily install these stations, which can be tens of thousands of dollars. They're going to have to rip up concrete and install wiring for the electricity. It's a very big investment for a business that traditionally doesn't pull in that much money.
You also have to wonder what Starbucks' long game here is, right? So one other fascinating part of EVs is that these cars essentially turn into computers. And you can imagine someone driving from Seattle to Denver getting a ping from a Siri-like equivalent being like, hey, you've been driving for 4 hours. Why don't you pull over and grab a snack here? And then you can imagine a Google search engine equivalent where you can find all of those stop points, but you can also have businesses bid on those prompts, right?
Genius.
So instead of you searching something on Google, like a standing desk, and getting an ad for it, you're driving in your car and your Tesla is integrated into the search engine that's saying, hey, stop by this Starbucks, and that Starbucks may be paying $2 to actually get your business.
So all of this kind of considered, I'll just pose a big, broad question to both of you. Like, what do you see the future gas station looking like?
I love this question so much. So there's a abandoned Dairy Queen about 10 minutes from my house, and it's right at the corner of this really busy road. But I was trying to think of what are other things that would go here. And I think coffee is really natural. I think when you're thinking about something that you can do for, 45 minutes, an hour, I think a lot of people would go to Starbucks, settle in, read a book, get some work done, whatever it is. So that seems like a pretty natural fit. I think this will work out pretty well for Starbucks, but I had a few other ideas that I want to run by you guys. So a micro gym with Pelotons. Do you think that could be part of the gas station of the future? Get a little 40-minute Peloton workout in when you're charging your EV?
Hell yeah.
An organic convenience store. So a convenience store that's just a lot of kind of healthy food, nice snacks. I don't know if you guys have heard of this company, Foxtrot. Basically, they started in Chicago. Essentially what they are is like 7-Eleven, but with local brands and local food. And they're amazing. Like, if you've ever been to one in Chicago, they have the best selection. They merchandise incredibly. It's like this amazing little stop that you can go to for sandwiches, coffee, and basically any snacks that you could want. I feel like that would be an awesome fit as well.
Yeah. Traditional gas stations have been moving into the fresh food space for years now. It's one of the more lucrative arms of their business, selling barbecue or something, or making fresh burgers in-house, and trying to get away from that stigma of just crappy gas station food.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that. There's a barbecue space in Austin called Ruby's, I think, that is appended to gas stations, and it's one of the best barbecue spots in Texas.
Okay, that just quickly reminded me of something, which is that the electric vehicle, I think in some cases, the way that it's built does not require the same amount of engine space. And so I'm pretty sure someone told me recently about an EV that had a grill in it using that extra space. So maybe that is the gas station of the future. You just rock up with your grill in your EV and you just, you hang out with a bunch of other people.
Tailgating in your Prius or whatever.
Exactly.